News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, we begin with President Donald Trump's choice to lead the Federal Reserve. The announcement is expected later this morning. Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us with the very latest. John, what do we know?
Well, Kevin Warsh is the Trump administration's pick to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve, at least according to our sources, Nathan. Without mentioning Warsh, the president last night said an announcement would come this morning.
Just an outstanding person and a person that won't be too surprising to people.
The 55-year-old Warsh served on the central bank's board of governors from 2006 to 2011 and has advised Trump on economic policy. This would mark a comeback for Warsh, whom the president passed over for the job back in 2017 when he selected Jerome Powell. Now, for the moment, investors see Warsh as less supportive of deep interest rate cuts. In the past, he's warned of inflation risks and also delivered more recent calls for the Fed to reduce its balance sheet. And the confirmation, that's not necessarily going to be smooth sailing. Key Senator Tom Tillis, the North Carolina Republican who sits on the banking committee, has vowed to block any of the president's Fed nominees until the Justice Department resolves an investigation into the central bank's renovation of its Washington headquarters. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
Well, John, what's the market reaction to our reporting?
This is the almost the knee-jerk reaction, Nathan. As a result, stocks fell, the Treasury yields, they pushed higher. The dollar rose, gold slid, traders dialing back bets on policy easing under Warsh. But you have to keep in mind that Warsh has also aligned himself with the president in recent months by arguing publicly for lower interest rates, going against his long-standing reputation as an inflation hawk. So pick your stance, Karen and Nathan.
All right, John Tucker, thank you. We want to stay in Washington, and President Trump has reached a tentative deal with Senate Democrats to avert a government shutdown over immigration raids that have sparked a nationwide outcry. The president is urging both parties to vote for the agreement, but House Speaker Mike Johnson says there might not be time before government funds run out tonight.
It may not be possible. We have a rule of a 72-hour notice for a return, and I can try to truncate that, but I've got people literally spread around the world right now. So, and we have a snowstorm.
Along with those comments from House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has placed a hold on the bill. The agreement would fund the Department of Homeland Security for 2 weeks to allow time to negotiate on Democrats' demands. They want DHS agents to wear body cameras, obtain warrants, take off masks, and no longer conduct broad immigration sweeps.
Well, White House Border Czar Tom Homan, Karen, says broad sweeps will no longer be the strategy when it comes to immigration enforcement in Minneapolis.
Target enforcement operations, the way we've always done it, I think we've got away from a little bit. And we're going to make sure we do target enforcement operations. And look, and I will say it again, we are not surrendering our mission at all.
Border Czar Tom Homan spoke at a news conference heard live on Bloomberg Radio after President Trump put him in charge of the operation in a bid to de-escalate tensions. California Governor Gavin Newsom is blasting the move.
If Tom Homan, who was accused of a $50,000 bribe, where charges disappeared, speaking of disappearing, cash, FBI, is the adult in the room, we are in more trouble than any of you think.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has clashed with President Trump over National Guard deployments in Los Angeles last year. He spoke at a Bloomberg Newsmakers event in San Francisco, and you can catch that full conversation on the Bloomberg podcast page on YouTube.
Nathan, let's turn to the weather now, where it'll be another frigid weekend with the possibility of another winter storm. We get the latest with Bloomberg meteorologist Craig Allen. Craig, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. And yes, it is bitter cold again this morning. Temperatures, the actual air temperatures near 10. Wind chills are between 0 and 10 below from Boston to New York City down to D.C. Now, let's talk about the snow. Oh, by the way, before I get there, the cold goes all the way down into deep Florida. Even Miami has the possibility of freezing temperatures over the upcoming weekend. All right, as for that snowstorm, there are winter storm warnings is in effect for the northern sections of Georgia through the Carolinas to southern Virginia, just to the south of the D.C. area. Very little expected around D.C. It moves off the coast, could brush eastern Long Island. New York City, not likely to see very much. You know who's going to get the worst of this? It would probably be Cape Cod. There will be a considerable amount of snow and wind, maybe even blizzard conditions for a brief period of time. But Boston, this to show you how close things are. Boston will probably end up with very, very little, just strong gusty winds. So a very tight gradient on this, but I think the worst of the snow will stay offshore.
All right, Craig, thank you. Of course, we're going to be checking back with Bloomberg meteorologist Craig Allen throughout the morning as we continue to track the storm. But now let's go back to the markets. As we mentioned, futures are lower to close out the last trading day of the month. So far this year, the S&P 500 is up 1.8%, but that's just 1 month. It is January. Apple shares are little changed in early trading. The iPhone maker delivered record quarterly sales and a better than expected forecast for the current period, but it did warn that rising component costs are threatening to squeeze margins. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has details.
Massive quarter. This is a home run, their greatest quarter ever by orders of magnitude. It's a gigantic beat on overall revenue. China is back. You have a big beat on the iPhone in particular. $85 billion quarter is just insane. The installed base, 2.5 billion. The numbers are just beyond excellent.
Bloomberg's Mark Gurman notes Apple had its biggest sales quarter in China in 4 years.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.